Welcome back. It's 9:20 a.m. on News and Views this morning. Nice to be with you. We are now going to be talking about Hamas naming the new leader, their new leader, and that, of course, is Yahya Sinwar after the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh. To talk to us about the new leader of Hamas is Dr. Farhin Delawala, who is a researcher at Media Review Network. A very good morning to you. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the program.
Walaikum salam. Jazakallah for having me.
Nice to have you on line, and good news for the people of Palestine, I should imagine, inshallah, because, as it is, um, they are being pummeled in every way possible. The genocide is absolutely relentless. And then to hear that your leader, the leader of Hamas, has been assassinated, I think that must have been quite a blow for the people of Palestine, particularly the people of Gaza.
Yes, certainly. I think it is a huge blow for them. However, the Palestinians remain steadfast in their belief and their belief in their right to self-determination and freedom for their own people. So in that sense, they have not deterred in their faith and they continue to remain steadfast in their belief that certainly there will be a day in which they will be free and Palestine will be free. So with what Hamas is doing, we can see that it has still continued to instill the faith in the Palestinian people, and they are not wavering in their support for the Palestinians. I think Hamas was very prompt in replacing a new leader to give hope to the Palestinians and to provide a sense of direction for all of them who have been patiently waiting for a new name to be announced. And yes, Yahya Sinwar has been announced as the leader of Hamas in Gaza, and he's been recently appointed, as you had mentioned, after the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh. And he's also regarded as somebody who had also planned the October 7th attacks in conjunction with Mohammed Deif. So he has also not been in public since the event. However, there is still this surety in terms of Hamas receiving the appropriate communication and way forward from the new leader, Yahya Sinwar.
Okay, Dr. Farhin, I need to ask you two very important questions. The first one is, what type of signal does this send out to the genocidal occupiers and the world at large? Because this does indicate that the negotiations of the ceasefire will be ongoing, inshallah. And then, of course, we need to look at Yahya Sinwar, the man. Who is he? Where does he come from? What does he bring to the leadership of the Gazan people?
Right. I'm quickly going to answer the question on who Sinwar is. He is a prominent Palestinian politician and military figure. He's been with Hamas since the late 1980s, after Hamas was established. He is also born in a refugee camp in Khan Yunis. And upon his graduation, he also established a network of fighters to take up the armed resistance against Israel. And this group later was known as Izzeddin al-Qassam Brigade, which is the military wing of Hamas. Now, many people do not know that Sinwar was also the former head of the Al-Majd security apparatus, which was tasked with eliminating about 4 Palestinian spies and 2 Israeli soldiers. And upon that, he was arrested by Israel in 1988, and he was sentenced to about 4 life terms in prison for his involvement. He spent about 20 plus years in Israeli prisons before he was released in a prisoner exchange deal in 2007, which also involved the release of the Israeli prisoner Gilad Shalit, who was permanently held by Hamas for a number of years. And in 2012, he was elected to the group's political bureau, and he was also tasked with coordinating with the military wing of Hamas. And this is not the first time that Sinwar has been elected as a leader or a successor to Ismail Haniyeh. In 2017, he was also elected as a successor to Haniyeh. So we do know that in terms of Sinwar's election, it does mark a shift towards a more hardline military leadership within the organization because he's known for his military stance. And he also prioritizes the Palestinian resistance. In terms of Sinwar and his involvement in the negotiations for ceasefires, he has been at the front line. He has always for ceasefire negotiations and prisoner exchange deals with Israel. So, despite of his staunch opposition to Israel and its establishment, he is always ready and willing to talk negotiation deals with Israel.
I'm just going to digress ever so slightly from here, but we're still talking about the Palestinian situation. We've been hearing about the UAE, inshallah, once the madness has stopped, the genocide has stopped, that the UAE will be governing Palestine with the Palestinian Authority guiding the Palestinian Authority in Palestine. That's not going to go down well at all with the Palestinian people, because I don't think that the majority of Palestinian people have any faith in Mahmoud Abbas and the PA.
Certainly, there is no faith in the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank because they do bring about a fractured position when it comes to their collaboration with the Israeli authorities. Now, whether there is talks going on and information circulating with regards to the involvement of the UAE, certainly this will be something that the Western audience and the Western governments would love to have in place. I think that's something that they would certainly support. However, the axis of resistance in the Middle East will not support this, including Hezbollah. Where does this leave the recent Beijing declaration in which various Palestinian fractions signed to work together and bring about peace in Palestine and unity in Palestine? So that also remains another question. In my opinion, I feel that the West is definitely losing its influence in the Middle East. Rather, the shift towards power in terms of the Middle East policies and so on is now shifting towards the global South nations. We see South Africa is playing a massive role. We see China is certainly involved in all of this now. So there is a lot of speculation in regards to UAE's involvement. As I mentioned, this is something that the West would love to have, but it will not work out because of the axis of resistance and because of the power shifting more towards the global South nations and the global South nations having more say in how foreign policy and international policy work.
So analysts are saying that this replacement by Sinwar now heads up Gaza, is an indicator of the central place that Gaza occupies in the group's political vision. Sinwar has obviously skyrocketed to an influential position, but I have no doubt in my mind he's been working behind the scenes and he's been working really hard in leading Gaza. So the choice to have named him leader of the movement, I should imagine, as far as in those particular circles are concerned, comes as no surprise. The fact that he comes from such a strong military background is the question that needs to be answered regarding the negotiations of a ceasefire. How do you see that playing out?
So Sinwar, he continues to influence the dynamics of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, especially what is happening now in Gaza. And Hamas is continuing to hold a power position in that place. So with regards to his leadership, he's been very much characterized by both a strict governance within Gaza as well as a unwavering commitment to resistance against Israel. With regards to his leadership position, we do know that Sinwar has a very strong role or a strong relationship with Hezbollah, and they both have collaborated strategically in the Middle Eastern region, and their relationship is built on mutual interests and ideologies which align with one another, as well as their hostility towards the Zionist state. So both Hamas and Hezbollah, they're also backed by Iran, which provides them with financial as well as military support. And there's massive cooperation between these two groups in particular. And they also share intelligence, they share military activities, and they also carry out various operational activities against Israel. So Hezbollah as well is known for its guerrilla warfare and asymmetrical tactics, which were used to sort of train Hamas fighters in carrying out military activities and tactical approaches. So these two organizations have frequently expressed solidarity and support for each other's causes. And they continue to come out in support for one another. And we can see that even recently, upon Sinwar's announcement as the leader of Hamas, Hezbollah also came out and supported this as part of their regional influence in the Middle East. And they continue to coordinate political and military strategies to challenge Israel's existence and to also cause instability within Israel's own military apparatus as well.
So, Dr. Farhin, I guess the big question now is, regarding the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh on Iranian soil. There has been threats, veiled and quite open threats by the Iranian government that they are going to retaliate and that Israel will pay for this atrocity on Iranian soil. What do you suppose is going to happen if if Iran does retaliate? Lots of analysts are suggesting that it might start a regional war in the Middle East. Quite a number of countries will get dragged into it. So the geopolitics of the Middle East is very fragile at the moment. And there are also analysts suggesting that this is exactly the scenario that the US and Britain are hoping is going to play out.
So Hezbollah has come out and said that they are still patiently waiting for the right time and the right moment to attack Israel, because they do want to avenge the death of one of their commanders and so on. So there is still this uncertainty as to when Hezbollah is going to attack and how they will do it. But we do know that it will be something that will be at a very large scale, and it will cost Israel substantial damages. So far, the United States certainly, as well as its Western counterparts, would like to have a regional war play out in the Middle East, not just for financial gains, but also for some kind of outpost where they are able to put up their own military and sort of control the region for its own oil and so on. So we do see that the United States has deployed military fighter jets and so on to the region in anticipation of any attacks from Hezbollah that could potentially occur. So yes, Israel is getting a lot of support, a lot of backing from the United States in particular. We know that the elections are also around the corner for the United States. And that also can play a huge role in how Israel is protected and how various funding for the United States politicians to sort of provide policies and so on in favor of Israel can play out. So there is a lot of components and elements that one needs to look into before there is a certain answer that could be given. But certainly Hezbollah is very adamant, and there still remains a sort of uncertainty as to when and how this will happen. Nonetheless, it will be a surprise, and it will take Israel by a storm.
Okay, that's Hezbollah. What about the Iranian government? My final question.
Yes, so the Iranian government is definitely in support of the Palestinian people, and I do believe that they will also have a lot of backing as to what Hezbollah does, and they will provide their support in terms of military aid and financial backing. But the question still remains is when this will happen, when these axes of powers will come together. I'm sure that there is talks going on behind closed doors right now as to how to carry out various attacks. There is also potential that Sinwar might also be discussing these talks with Hezbollah and Iran and various other axes of power. However, the United States is also waiting patiently so that an attack could happen and then they could bring in their military to take down the Middle East for their own foreign policy interests. So, yes, certainly Iran is definitely backing the Palestinian cause as well as Hezbollah. But the question still remains when this will be carried out and when the attacks will be carried out so that we can speak to what further transpires in the region.
Not a pretty picture at all. All I see is doom and gloom ahead of me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly watch over the people of Palestine. Dr. Farhin Delawala, researcher at Media Review Network, thank you indeed for your insights on this matter. Nice talking with you this morning. Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah.
9:37 News and Views. Moving on, and next we are going to be talking to a journalist. His name is Abdullah. We don't have a second name there, but he is the winner of the 2023 Nansen Refugees Award for Asia and Pacific. So he's on standby to talk to us further about the situation, the devastation in Rakhine State, where the Arakan army attacked over 200 Rohingya Muslim lives, including women and children.